This is Solid Snake, and you're listening to This Week in Geek with Mike the Birdman and the rest of the TWIG crew on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and you might notice a unusually loud, deafening, you might say, silence. That's right, I'm handling the show alone, the first time in, well, quite some time, because my partner in producing this amazing podcast that we do for you each and every week, almost consistently, since 2007, is not here today. That's right, Alex, the producer, is out dealing with some household problems, of all things. Basically, long story short, Alex lives over in the great city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, and we got a massive dumping of snow over the past couple of days here in Canada. I know, big friggin' surprise. And what had happened is, the apartment building where he lives, there had been so much snow that had been removed towards the back of the building. Evidently, it had started to melt and leak into the building's foundation and cause massive problems with pipes. So much so that Alex noticed there was water coming in through his closet in his bedroom. So he got all his stuff out of his closet, and he was like, oh shit. So his building management had to call an emergency plumber, and he's like, oh my god, I've got to deal with this. Shit. Fortunately, it was dealt with by the emergency plumber. Nothing was really damaged, although Alex, I think, lost an old school stereo receiver he was going to use for like a record player. So that's unfortunate, because those pieces of technology are generally pretty cool. So that's unfortunate. Plus, he's also dealing with some other kind of personal issues right now. Nothing significant. Don't worry about it. He will be back on the show next week, as far as I know. In addition to that, there may be a slight delay in return to our show, Stargate SG-1 TWIG, as we may be having to redo some reorganization on that podcast. Again, nothing to drastically worry about. We are still planning on continuing out the season. We just have to jiggle some things, just because we have to kind of mess with like some schedules with some of our player base. So rest assured, things are still going to happen. We still have to find out what happened on that planet with the giant polar bears, and it should be entertaining nonetheless. So, normally this would be where I would talk about what I've been doing during my week, and my week has actually been pretty eventful. Big thanks to my next door neighbor, Liam, and Shannon to a lesser extent. We've actually been doing a lot of stuff around the house this week. And that started mainly with what Liam has called the Great Cleaning. And we actually built some shelves. Now, my sister-in-law, Kara, bought us these awesome Billy bookcases from IKEA. And in these Billy bookcases have these awesome glass doors on it, because we have a real problem with dust in our place. For whatever reason, a lot of things just get coated in dust, and a lot of the stuff gets coated in this weird sticky dust. And I guess that's just because my wife used to do a lot of cooking, not so much since her surgery, but we'd get all this garbage, and because I have a lot of collectibles, that meant a lot of cleaning. So we got these Billy bookcases with these glass doors so we can actually put my collectibles behind something. Dusting would happen a lot less frequently, and we would have some options there. So this past weekend, we finally got everything ready to go. We have another Billy bookshelf built, and we're using that for our DVDs and Blu-rays, and to a lesser extent video games, because I have almost all my games virtual now. The last video game I bought hard copy was when my wife got me, for our wedding anniversary last year, she got me the collector's edition of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which my wife is in the room. My Scott Pilgrim copy is over there, right? Okay, yeah, she's giving me the nods up. She also has stolen my cat, and she's flipping me off, so it must be Monday morning in the Ashkowee household. Other than that, I also got hit by the cleaning bug. Liam is doing a massive clean out of some of the things he's got right now. And I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I want to do something too. So I decided to be bit by the spring cleaning fairy in January. So why the hell not? And I kind of took a katana to a lot of my old role-playing game stuff, because I kind of looked at some of it back when I was doing Terrible Warriors full-time, and I'd built up quite the collection, and I got to thinking, I'm never going to play some of these. It is not going to happen. The pandemic has certainly shifted things to more virtual stuff, and I have a lot of my books digitally anyway. Like, I'm a huge supporter of drive-through RPG. It's easier from an accessibility standpoint, because literally, to have a stack of books where I currently record the show, it's problematic at best, it's difficult at worst, and it's something you only really get if you're a handicapped person and you have extremely limited space. So I got rid of a lot of stuff. I got rid of my entire Riffs collection, R.I.P. Even some of it was actually signed by some game designers. Person got a wicked deal out of me. I also sold my entire collection of Mage the Awakening, Mage the Ascension, and the Sorcerer's Crusade from World of Darkness. I love the idea behind Mage, but it is just not my World of Darkness game. Like, my World of Darkness game is Hunter the Reckoning, and Werewolf the Apocalypse, and Vampire the Masquerade. And to a lesser extent, Hunter the Vigil, which is in New World of Darkness. But I've got most of the books for that. I just don't care for New World of Darkness, so I kept those books only. And I also sold some Star Wars books. I know, holy shit, blasphemy, you're selling it right during the height of Book of Boba Fett. And I sold my D20 Saga editions and the D20 versions of Star Wars because I got a lot of these books when they first came out years ago. And I got them mostly because I was into The Force Unleashed and the Clone Wars, which are two of my favorite eras in the prequel era and also Legends stuff. So I'm thinking, you know what? I am a Star Wars West End Games person, tried and true. I will never not play those versions because that's what I grew up with. It's my first RPG system, and I do think Star Wars D6 has a lot of legs left in it, despite there are some flaws in the system, but that's okay. And it still has wonderful fan support even today. I'm pretty sure I've seen somebody did a book for The Mandalorian in Star Wars D6. So you know what? I've got quite a huge collection of that. That is not going anywhere. Somebody even wanted to buy my my Shadowrun 2nd edition stuff. And sorry, folks, I got a bit of a cold, and I literally had to say, over my dead body and out of my cold dead hands, will you take this cyber deck? But hey, who knows? Like, I've got quite a sizable Shadowrun collection too, and I've got a good chunk of that digital as well. So maybe I'm not so committed, but then again, those are the books that mean a lot to me, so I'm probably not. I'm even looking at some of my older Star Trek stuff, because I think I've got most of the line from Decipher when they held the license. I think I even got a bunch of the last Unicorn stuff when they held the license for Star Trek. So I don't know, because I'm more into the newer license holder anyway. Modifius, which will be covering the Star Trek Players Handbook and the Game Master's Guide very soon on this show. So I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that's going to be going up in the next little bit as I start to kind of trim and prune and keep what really matters to me, because that's something that I got from Blair and Liam as we were all kind of talking this weekend, thinking, keep what matters to you. And that's actually kind of leading into some things that I did. I actually took some of the profits that I got from this, and I got Blair this awesome Loungefly Aristocats wallet, which I guess Loungefly is a thing that girls like, so yay, I guess. It's a pretty cute wallet, though. The cat, Marie, is the white cat who says, "I'm a lady," which, by the way, I've not seen this movie yet, so maybe I'll give my wife the time of day today and we'll watch that so I know what the hell that is. She's tapping her nose right now, so I guess I'm watching that and Encanto today. So yeah, that should be a pretty fun afternoon. And it also kind of led me to something else, and something sort of a goal for 2022, providing the world doesn't blow up right now. Excuse me. I'm actually going to try cosplay, or at least try to get cosplay ready. You might be thinking, well, what can you do in a wheelchair? Well, I'm glad you asked. So one of the things that I've seen people talk about, I've actually hung out in a couple of prop replica forums and a few groups on Facebook over the last couple of weeks, and I've been getting some ideas. And I want you guys to think of that scene in Starship Troopers, the Paul Verhoeven movie that came out in like 97, I think. And there's a recruitment officer for the mobile infantry, and he's an amputee below the knee. He's missing one of his legs. He has a cybernetic arm. And he says to Johnny Rico, "Good on you, son. Mobile infantry is what made me into the man today." And obviously it's played for a laugh and horror at the same time. But I got to thinking, and with the support of the Halo prop community, which I got to send these guys a huge shout out, I decided I'm going to do an ODST recruitment officer. And it's cool because I'm working with the 3D printer guy who made my Star Wars Republic Commando helmet last year here in Guelph. He's going to make me a ODST helmet. And then once I have my weight loss surgery and I've lost as much weight as I can within that very small window where you lose drastically for like a year and a half, I'm going to see what I can do. And my final goal is an ODST recruitment officer, and I may have somebody 3D print me a leg that looks like the Spartan armor you would see in Halo Infinite. And then, presumably, when the world opens up again, I would have a ODST banner hung from my wheelchair on a little flagpole or something, and I would hand out flyers to join the UNSC and say, "Hey, would you like to see strange new worlds, meet interesting people? Well, then the ODSTs are looking for you." And, just kind of have some fun with it. So it might be really cool. I'm looking into getting the ODST SMG and the SOCOM and stuff like that. So it'll be fun. And I think it'll be kind of a neat project. Hoping against hope, because my ability to go to conventions will still be somewhat limited depending on where they are. But Guelph usually has one or two a year. So I'm kind of okay with that. So we'll have to kind of wait and see. It should be fun. Oh, in other huge news. So I had a lot of support from Blair, from Alex, and my friend Kathy. And I submitted a proposal to the Ontario Arts Council for a podcast that would be exploring my indigenous identity, and something that would also be addressing other members of the community, both as an interested party into hearing their story, but also learning about song, stories, and to a lesser extent, some of the things that define them as Indigenous. And, like, are you a survivor of X trauma, or how is being raised Indigenous kind of changed who you are and how you interact with the world? And I think that's a very important conversation to have now that we're starting to recognize finally in Canada truth and reconciliation. We are a long way from getting that done. But we'll have to wait and see. And then I guess my final bit of big news this week, as many of you know, I'm very politically active right now, and we just held our general election. And I am still serving with my local executive board. However, I'm no longer the disability rep, which is just as much of a surprise to me as I'm sure it is to many. But there's a quote from Halo Infinite where Master Chief is talking to the weapon, and the weapon's saying, "I'm not supposed to be here. This is not how it's supposed to be." And the Master Chief says, the missions change. They always do. And I got to thinking about that quote, and it kind of applies here. I don't need a title to make a difference. I don't need a title to advocate. And it's actually already kind of paid off, because I've already held a meeting with our local member of parliament, a guy by the name of Mike Schreiner. We talked about poverty in this province. We talked about the support system regarding that poverty and disability, and I think I really made kind of an impact there. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when our parliament resumes its sitting position, which I want to say is in like February or something. And I'm still the rep for the Indigenous community, which is very cool. I've shared some of this on Twitter, and I'll just kind of briefly talk about it here just because I've been rambling for like 15 minutes here. I found a spiritual advisor, and that means forging more relationships within the community. And that means I may be very, very much closer, and the potential is there for finding my spirit name, for finding my true name. And there's been some events going on in my personal life of late where I think I might have an idea on what that might be. So it's a very exciting time to be me. And I wish I could share all this with Alex right now, but he's dealing with his own stuff. Actually, let's be real. He's probably asleep right now. So anyway, not to throw my co-host under the bus, but we have a lot of stuff to talk about here on the show. This week, there was a major acquisition in the world of gaming. And if you thought it was a big deal, what we talked about last week, well, that one kind of puts the other one to shame. Plus, we've got your usual dose of weirdness. I got a couple of reviews from Alex he recorded prior to things going all topsy-turvy. Plus, we're going to have my first impression review of the single-player experience in Rainbow Six Extraction from Ubisoft. So we will be talking about all that and more right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. But coming up first, we're going to take a listen to something from Alex, and we will be back, guys, right after this, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net, where I'm handling the show solo today. Isn't it great? Isn't it cool? You're cool. I'm cool. They're cool. Dr. Wiley says hi. We'll catch you guys again right here, right after this.
We are nearing the end of January, and that means it's time to go through some of the Mill Creek releases that we received that don't fit into their own individual reviews, and those are the bundle discs where they put multi-volume movies on in sets. Just because it's sometimes hard to figure out where these fit, and there's 3 that came in the last couple of weeks that are going to be interesting that you're going to want to see. There's the Zombie Collection, and that is a collection of 4 films. One is Attack of the Lederhosen Zombies, which in itself is pretty ridiculous. Granny of the Dead, Attack of the Killer Donuts, and Harold's Going Stiff. These are all obviously low budget, very recent films. 2014 for Harold Going Stiff, and the rest are 2017. These are the kind of things you see on like Hulu or Netflix and or Amazon Prime, where they're low budget indie films from a few different companies that just they want to put together a cheap horror film. They're good to watch for, like a weekend of ridiculousness. There's nothing here that is going to be cinematic gold that you're going to come to over and over again. But if it's a rainy day or you're looking for some extra content just to watch in the background, they're worth picking up. Again, nothing to write home about, but these are from a fairly cheap set. You're going to be able to find your local Walmart or Target or any store that has, they always have a bin of multi-disc movies, especially from people like Mill Creek. This is the kind of one you're going to find there. If you can get it for dirt cheap, it's worth picking up. Otherwise, if you're a big horror fan, go ahead. But if you're neither of those things, you might want to pass on that until you see a really good deal on it. But I found some enjoyment in there. They're straight bare bones releases, no other features other than just the movies themselves. But these other two packages that came, there's the Through the Decades series, which Mill Creek in the past has put out multi-disc sets of lesser known movies or movies from small studios that they had acquired the rights to that aren't like super big. But these are from, these are bigger releases. So there's a set from the 1960s and a set from the 1970s. So for the 1960s set, you get 12 films. These are DVDs, so they are standard definition, but they look pretty good considering, a lot of them are newer transfers. Obviously, you'd be getting a much better visual quality out of a Blu-ray, so I can't really compare that. But for the value of what you get, these are all larger releases from Columbia Pictures. So you get Who Is That Lady with Tony Curtis, Dean Martin, and Janet Leigh. The Notorious Landlady, which has Kim Novak, Jack Lemmon, and Fred Astaire. Under the Yum Yum Tree, which is Jack Lemmon, Carol Linney, and Dean Jones. Good Neighbor Sam, which is Jack Lemmon, Romy Schneider, and Dorothy Provine. Lilith, which has Warren Beatty, Gene Seberg, and Peter Fonda. Baby the Rain Must Fall, Steve McQueen, Lee Remick, and Don Murray. That is one of the best films in this set for sure. I really like that movie. I've seen it before as well. Genghis Khan, which has Stephen Boyd, James Mason, and Omar Sharif. Mickey 1, which is Warren Beatty, Herb Hatfield, and Alexandra Stewart. The Chase, which has Marlon Brando, Jane Fonda, and Robert Redford. That's another good one. Love, which has Jack Lemmon, Peter Falk, and Elaine May. How to Save Your Marriage and Ruin Your Life, which has Dean Martin, Stella Stevens, and Eli Wallach. And Hook, Line, and Sinker with Jerry Lewis, Peter Lawford, and Anne Francis. All of these are pretty big releases for their time period. A mixture of comedies, romantic comedies, some epics like Genghis Khan. Baby the Rain Must Fall and The Chase are probably the two that I like the most out of the set. They're all presented in their original aspect ratios, which is good. Color and black and white. No weird colorization of the black and white films or anything. These are just straight, pure releases. They're all pretty much going to have mono audio or a stereo track that's dual mono, but that's just because that's how they were filmed and recorded. And it's a good set to pick up for somebody if you're looking for a gift, or even just for yourself to fill out your movie collection. A lot of those films, some of them have had Blu-ray releases, but a lot of them haven't, or their DVDs are way out of print, so you can get them all in one set like this for a decent price, and the discs aren't like over compressed or anything, so they're pretty good that way. And the other set is Through the Decades 1970s. This one has 11 movies in it, and what you get are The Owl and the Pussycat with Barbra Streisand, George Segal, and Robert Klein. A Walk in the Spring Rain with Anthony Quinn, Ingrid Bergman, and Fritz Weaver. Dollars with Warren Beatty, Goldie Hawn, and Gert Frobe. And that I've seen on video once before. When I was watching it, I went, wait a minute, I've seen this before. The Anderson Tapes. This is a Sean Connery movie with Diane Cannon and Martin Balsam. That is a steal in here, because previously there was a very limited release that went out of print of that DVD years ago, like almost 10 years ago, and that was a very expensive movie to track down, just if you wanted to collect it for Connery. So if you don't care about the artwork not being just purely for that movie, this is one of the only ways to get that movie cheap enough to actually watch at home. Brother John, which has Sidney Poitier, who just passed away, So if you're looking for a Sidney Poitier film, this might be one to look for, with Will Greer and Bradford Dillman. The Horseman with Omar Sharif, Lee Taylor Young, and Jack Palance. Gumshoe with Albert Finney, Billy Whitelaw, Frank Finlay. The Last Detail with Jack Nicholson, Otis Young, and Randy Quaid. Last Detail is a good movie too. And that's one that, if you were to buy it separately in its own release, actually costs about as much as the set does itself. So you might want to think about that too. The Stonekiller with Charles Bronson, and For Pete's Sake, and Fun with Dick and Jane, the original movie with George Segal, Jane Fonda, and McMahon. I'd say it's worth picking up just for the amount of value you get in the set.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your solo host this week, Mike the Birdman. And of course, it is time to talk about the news that happened around the great big blue marble this past week that we know as the Nerd News. Okay, so do we talk about the big elephant in the room or do we not? Because that elephant is worth $70 billion. This was actually one of the first stories I broke on Reddit's Halo thread, where I kind of made a flippant comment like, oh cool, Microsoft just bought Activision, so when does Captain Price show up as a Spartan or something else in Halo Infinite? My guess is fairly soon, or we're going to have ODSTs in Warzone. Not going to lie, that would kind of bring me back to actually playing that game. So, this happened last week, and I'm just going to read the announcement from news.xbox.com. Welcoming the incredible teams and legendary franchises of Activision Blizzard to Microsoft Gaming. Creators of Call of Duty, Warcraft, Candy Crush, Tony Hawk, Diablo, Overwatch, Spyro, Hearthstone, Guitar Hero, Crash Bandicoot, StarCraft, and more join Team Xbox. As a team, we are on a mission to extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone on the planet. We all know that gaming is the most vibrant and dynamic form of entertainment worldwide, and we've experienced the power of a social connection and friendship that gaming makes possible. As we pursue that mission, it is incredibly exciting to announce that Microsoft has agreed to acquire Activision Blizzard. Over many decades, the studios and teams that make up Activision Blizzard have earned vast wellsprings of joy and respect from billions of people all over the world. We are incredibly dedicated to have the chance to work with the amazing, talented, dedicated people across Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, Beanox, Demonware, Digital Legends, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, King, Major League Gaming, Radical Entertainment, Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Toys for Bob, Treyarch, and every team across Activision Blizzard. Until this transaction closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will continue to operate independently. Once the deal is completed, the Activision Blizzard business will report to me as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Upon close, we will offer many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog. We also announced today that Game Pass now has more than 25 million subscribers. As always, we look forward to continuing to add more value and add more great games to Game Pass. The fantastic franchises across Activision Blizzard will also accelerate our plans for cloud gaming, allowing more people to play more places around the world to participate in the Xbox community using phones, tablets, laptops, and other devices you already own. Activision Blizzard games are enjoyed on a variety of platforms, and we plan to continue to support those communities moving forward. As a company, Microsoft is committed to a journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming among employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment. We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard. Around the world, there's no more exciting venture for fun and connection than video games, and there's never been a better time to play than right now. As we extend the joy and the community of gaming to everyone, we look forward to welcoming all of our friends at Activision Blizzard to Microsoft Gaming. Okay, so let's talk about the big elephant in the room. What's going to happen to dickhead Bobby Kotick? Supposedly he will be gone when the deal closes next year, from what I've heard. And good fucking riddance. Fuck that guy. There was reports even as late as last week that he was trying to cover up, or at least make the numbers not look as bad for many people who were not pleased with the company, to put that delicately. So good. Now, obviously, when an acquisition of this size happens, a lot of people get worried because jobs, security, and this is going to be very interesting to see how Microsoft handles this, because they've already come out and said that the Call of Duty brand will still be published on PlayStation and other platforms, so they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot by making COD an exclusive to their platform. However, having Call of Duty day and date with Game Pass, that's a value that's going to change the game a lot, I feel. And having all these teams over there be able to work with brands and studios from, say, like 343, who does Halo, I wonder how that's going to change things. Like, having people who are map designers from Treyarch, Raven, and Sledgehammer, that might be certainly interesting to see and get their input for Halo Infinite. But I swear to God, if you put, and I was talking with somebody on Reddit about this, if you put a weed helmet visor with a giant gold chain on my Spartan, we are gonna have words. I remember, as I mentioned off the top of this story, when I posted this on Reddit, I got like 6,000 upvotes on my post and like 800 or so comments. It got to be dinging my phone so much, it actually killed my phone, because it just was like ding, 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 like for like a couple hours straight. It was nuts. And one thing that I thought about with this, and this is probably a very niche concern, but I wonder what this is going to mean for content creators, because I find Microsoft and Xbox, they're very protective of their IP, depending. And there are some YouTubers that I know that make trolling content, specifically within the Call of Duty platform. I wonder what's going to happen there and how that's going to change previews for certain game journalists. I wonder how that's going to change how certain influencers get access to stuff. It's going to be very interesting, because I have always had a really good relationship with Activision for years, and now that they're under Microsoft, and I still got a pretty good relationship with Xbox. So I guess we're going to kind of wait and see, and it'll be very interesting to see, because now Microsoft has multiple esports under it. They now have StarCraft. They now have Overwatch League. They have Halo Championship. They have Call of Duty. That's 4 major esports under one umbrella. And Microsoft has obviously the money to support these. So I'll be very curious to know how everything works from here on out. I know there was a major COD event this past weekend. Halo's got one coming up next month in Anaheim. And I'm not sure what's going on with the Overwatch League and the other associated esports. They're just not in my realm of what I watch. Now there is some good news to this. I mean, somebody posted, I think it was one of the major gaming websites, that says, well, if you want to have a chance to have a Microsoft type Smash Brothers type game, now you can. You could have the Master Chief fighting Spyro versus Tony Hawk if you wanted to. Crash Bandicoot could fight, I don't know, the Doom guy, and the Dragonborn can rock out against Captain Price. You could have that now, and so much more. Because Activision obviously was in some really deep shit last year with the sexual assault allegations, union busting. It's a bad time. And it'll be very interesting to see where this all ends up in the future. And ultimately, getting rid of Bobby Kotick's going to do a lot of things. I'll be very curious to see who's left in the end of all this, but also one of the things that was mentioned, and I'm sure Alex would talk about this for a good long time. I think these guys own Candy Crush now or something. They own a lot of IP. Now, they own a lot of games, they own a lot of studios, which means they now own a lot of data. And Microsoft can use that for God knows what now, in terms of what that would mean to their internal metrics, all the communities they now have access to. Some people have wondered if this deal actually will close. Like, does this follow under like a monopoly or something? Because Microsoft bought Bethesda and ZeniMax, and they own all those studios. They now own these guys, and I honestly kind of saw this coming, because I remember saying something within the last couple of years saying, well, why doesn't Microsoft just buy them? And why the hell not? And now they can, because Activision, I mean, really think about it. How many games do they realistically make? It's mostly the COD machine. They closed the studio, or they changed the studio that was making Tony Hawk. I'm pretty sure they're gone, Vicarious Visions. And Neversoft is long dead. But even the Microsoft guy is talking about, well, maybe we should think about resurrecting some of these brands. Honestly, if you told me somebody was going to do a new Guitar Hero, I would be into that. Fuck, man. You put Julie, or whatever the hell her name is, from Guitar Hero in the Smash Brothers clone, or the heavy metal dude Axel something or other. Hell, have Slash. We've already got his character model to do that. So there's so much they could do here. And I would love to see Microsoft bring back Guitar Hero, DJ Hero, just not flood the market. There's even talk right now that Call of Duty could go to a 2-year release cycle, which is fantastic. Because I think doing the yearly release, it's doing it a disservice. I think if they do what Ubisoft's doing and do an Assassin's Creed every couple years, and if the game is of quality, then I think you're going to make a lot of people happy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things turn out over the next year, 2 years. I really want to know what the back catalog for Activision titles is going to be on Xbox Game Pass. Some of those licenses have expired, like anything that involved Transformers, for example. The older Marvel titles, a lot of those have like changed hands, and it would be really cool if they could get them back under some kind of a legacy deal. It won't happen. But it's going to be, Xbox Game Pass is now going to be an absolute titan of a value. And I know Sony is doing something with some kind of a service, and we're probably going to see it in the next in the next state of play. But somebody posted a meme, and it kind of made me laugh. And it's a Marvel Universe meme, and it's like Tony Stark and Thanos, and they're kind of facing off at the end of Endgame. And it's something like, Sony is like, I have defeated you, nobody wants to play you. And then it shows Tony with the Infinity Gauntlet facing Thanos, and it shows all the studios that Microsoft now holds. And I'm like, yeah, and what do you have now? And he snaps his fingers and Thanos goes out of existence. So yeah, it's going to be very competitive in that space. Is it good for gamers? I think on one hand, having all that value under one banner is going to be interesting. It would not surprise me if we see Xbox Game Pass prices go up a little bit, because you think about this, you get EA Origin or EA Play, or whatever the fuck it's called, all packed into Game Pass anyway. And if you get Activision Blizzard titles in there, and I mean, what's the next logical step? If you told me Microsoft would make a play to add Uplay and Ubisoft titles to its thing, like Rainbow Six Extraction, which is going to be the next review coming up on this show, was a Game Pass exclusive or whatever, I kind of wonder if this is them testing the waters. Like, I don't know. I think there's going to be another major acquisition before the year's out. I think the U.S. government's going to have to step in sooner or later and say something. So I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what happens. I mean, that's the big elephant in the room right now. I hope good people don't lose their job. I know Bobby Kotick was late showing up to a meeting and pretty much blew off employees the other day. That's a report that I've seen floating around. They're talking about getting rid of a lot of high-level people. Good. As long as they're jerks, whatever. Microsoft, I think, seems open to the idea of having a union. I mean, whatever. It's 2022. Get friggin' used to it. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, at the heart of this, people matter. Bobby Kotick sucks. This is good value for the Xbox subscriber, I feel. And how this all plays out, I'm certainly certain that we're going to see something very interesting before the end of year. And Birdman's predictions 2022, we are going to see another major acquisition before October of this year, and it's going to surprise people. So hold on to your butts, folks. It ain't over yet. So the next story that I want to talk about today comes courtesy of comicbook.com, and this one is kind of cool. I'm actually really looking forward to this if they can pull it off. So a Godzilla TV series is in development at Apple TV+. So according to this article, once I get it loaded here, because it's being stupid, please stop. Thank you. Godzilla is king of the monsters, and now he shall soon take over Apple TV subscribers. A new report has gone live today confirming the MonsterVerse's big move to television. Deadline has confirmed that a live-action TV series is in the works for Godzilla and will help expand Godzilla's domain in a unique new way. According to the Deadline, this landmark deal will bring Legendary Pictures' pre-existing franchise to Apple TV. The Untitled series will follow one family's journey through a world where Titans exist, and they'll come to discover their secret ties to Monarch along the way. At this point, there's no word on whether existing characters in the Godzilla films will carry into the show, but we know for sure the King of the Monsters will show up. Legendary Television is producing the Untitled TV series with Chris Black as executive producer. Matt Fraction will serve as showrunner along with Black Toho Company. We'll also have several members on board, including Hiro Matsuoka and Tasamina Arita. The report goes on to detail how the TV series was developed as Legendary is riding on high of Godzilla vs. Kong. The movie is one of the first to excite the global box office in a post-COVID world. Apple was said to have immediate interest in the pitch as its streaming service wants more established IPs. As you can imagine, fans are clamoring over this announcement, and Godzilla will be all better for the expansion. We first met this version of the monster back in 2014 with a self-titled film. King Kong joined the franchise in 2017 before Godzilla King of the Monsters dropped in 2019. Of course, Godzilla vs. Kong is the latest release that brought the two IPs' total earnings to roughly over $2 billion globally. This is not only the TV project that Godzilla has in the works right now. In fact, the franchise is exploring the world of anime with Netflix. The streaming service is working on Skull Island, an anime focused on King Kong and his life on the Wild Island. We can expect to see even more Mutos in the series, and the same can be said for this new live-action series. With Apple TV Plus joining the franchise, you may be wondering why Godzilla did not turn to HBO Max for this Untitled series. After all, Warner Bros. Pictures and HBO Max all fall under the same company, but it turns out money became the deciding factor here. Justin Kroll of Deadline explains Legendary saw an opportunity to get the best price by taking it to the market rather than go straight to HBO Max, and from what I have heard, Apple was the front runner to land the series very early on in the process. This doesn't mean that HBO Max may never pursue such a project, but for the time being, Apple TV Plus and Netflix are on their own terms of spin-offs. Either way, this means the MonsterVerse is expanding, so we're throwing our hat into the ring for Biollante to show up ASAP. I think this is cool. Now, can you pull it off and pull it off on a consistent week-to-week budget? We'll see. Ultimately, I think to make this work, it has to be super high budget, and I would do no more than 8 to 10 episodes a season. And obviously, you're going to have to dig into the back catalog of monsters, and you want them to be cool. I'm not saying you get a kaiju fight everything, but maybe, well, they've done Mechagodzilla. They could do, they could bring back one of Mothra's kids. They could bring back Rodan. They could bring back, the smog monster, which is a weird cut, but why not? They could show the aftermath of the Mecha Godzilla fight. There's so much potential here if it's handled properly that I think it'd be kind of cool. I think it'd be really neat if they could bring in, like, I think the character's name is Jet Jaguar. I would love to see Son of Godzilla, and I don't want him to do that weird sideways flying he did with his feet up. I think it'd be funny if someone could find a way to insert that as a joke and make it be like, and have somebody say that can't be real. But yeah, like I think this could be really cool. And having Apple Plus, I know they did something called The Foundation or something based on some Isaac Asimov thing. Alex showed me the trailer and I thought it looked really cool, but I heard the reviews aren't particularly great. I mean, there's nothing on Apple TV Plus that excites me. This is the only thing I've heard about that legitimately has interest to me. Like, Amazon has Lord of the Rings, Netflix has Stranger Things, and many other IPs under it, plus all of its original movies. HBO Max has Peacemaker and all the DCU stuff. There's a lot of big stuff, and we don't even need to talk about Disney Plus, from Star Wars to Marvel to any other thing you can imagine. Even with the new Santa Claus series getting announced, that's something pretty big too. Actually, don't be surprised if you see them try and do a limited series for Home Improvement. That's my guess, and I'm going to call that right now. If Santa Claus does well and if Tim Allen will play ball, my guess is we'll get a 6-episode miniseries for Home Improvement. But we'll see. So yeah, Monsterverse, cool. I'm looking forward to it. Should be an exciting time to be a Monsterverse fan. I know one of our former TWIG contributors, Andrew Roebuck. I would love to hear his thoughts on this. You can follow him on Twitter, which is at Wine Movie Nerd. I think it is. It's either Wine Movie Nerd or Wise Movie Nerd. It's one or the other. Or look up Andrew Roebuck. He has a podcast. He did Milkshakes and Mimosas. He did Triassic Park. He does a lot of unusual podcasting, but it's really exceptionally well researched. It's well produced. He's just getting over COVID right now. So wish him well and send him a Godzilla-sized bowl of hot chicken noodle soup. I'm sure he would appreciate it. And tell him Birdman sent you. So yeah, that's what I got for the news this week. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit shorter because I don't have Alex here with me this week. But we're going to take a small break and take a trip to the movies. Actually, no, we're going to go to Rainbow Six Extraction. So, all right, operators of Reacted, it's time to lock and load, check your gear, and deploy rapidly to fight the alien parasite that is out there. So we will return right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
I used to feel so much peace staring into the heavens until a piece of it fell and the nightmare began. We thought it could be contained, but it evolved. So we did too.
Hey guys, Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here with my first impressions of Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Extraction. A review code was provided to us on the PlayStation 4/PlayStation 5. However, you can also get this game on Xbox Game Pass if that is your jam. Okay, so Rainbow Six Extraction is the latest title in the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six series, which takes a lot of its DNA from Seed, so it's more slow tactical gameplay, except this time you're fighting aliens, because I'm sure that's what Tom Clancy would have wanted. Okay, so this basically tasks you as a member of React, and you would be a part of a team that would be sent into a quote-unquote incursion zone where you would basically have to fight these aliens via airlock, and you would be going there to collect samples. You might be fighting some big alien bad guy to capture them or kill them, or you may have to go rescue a valuable asset behind enemy lines, etc. And as a solo player experience, I was actually really looking forward to this. because I don't like Siege as a whole, because I'm just not good at that type of shooter. It's not my thing. I'm your Call of Duty, Gears of War, Halos guy. Very bombastic, very arcadey type of shooter. Basically, look at it this way. I've only dipped my toe, because that's all I got, literally into Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm terrible at it. And I'm unhappy to report that that tradition continues here. I am terrible at this game in solo. Now, later on this week, when Alex comes back to the show, we will be doing a multiplayer review of this title. But as a single-player experience, I had a miserable time with this, and allow me to explain why. So each zone is procedurally generated in the regards that the maps are all the same, but your locations of where things might be is randomly generated. Your bad guys are randomly generated. Okay, fine. However, when you complete a mission, or if you don't complete a mission, your Rainbow Six operator may become damaged or hurt, and they will encase themselves in safety foam, aka it looks like you've been sitting in like milk in the back of your fridge for a week, and then somebody has to come pull your ass out of the fire. And it's kind of a cool idea where you have to go extract this person to rescue them, but you get experience for kind of doing so. However, these people become hurt, and you have to wait for them to heal, which means you have to do other missions for them to heal faster. So the better you do, the quicker they heal. Unfortunately, though, the enemies here, they seem just a little too tough. Like, you can't take a lot of damage. And some of these guys, I can't say they can one-shot you on the lowest difficulty, but you can get your ass kicked pretty fast by something known as a spiker. Basically, a alien dude that shoots, well, spikes at you. And it's really easy to get overwhelmed. I mean, you want to go silent, you want to do a lot of tactical thinking here, but sometimes you just can't help but shove a shotgun in somebody's face. I wish I could tell you I had a good time with this. I didn't. I had some fun when moments were going really well, when I was able to tackle multiple objectives, because each zone is split into 3 subsections, and each zone has its own objective, like either rescue somebody, secure intel, get a sample, or something along those lines. I think there's like 12 different objectives. So overall, though, like I said, as a single player experience, I didn't have fun, but when we jump on into the full multiplayer experience on PlayStation 5, we'll see how things kind of line up differently when me and Alex decide to drop in together, and with another Rainbow operator, hopefully we'll have some good times there. Anyway, like I said, this has been my first impression of Rainbow Six Extraction on the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and Xbox Game Pass. So we will be coming back at you later with a multiplayer impression for Rainbow Six Extraction. Once again, review codes were provided to us by Ubisoft.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
And welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. Alright folks, well, it's time to break down some of the weird news that happened around the planet this past weekend. We got a couple of strange stories this week, and this one's probably going to be a little bit shorter than we normally would, just because I don't have Alex to bounce some of this weirdness off of, because I know he would have a lot to say on some of these stories. So my first story comes courtesy of KFYO.com. That's News Talk 790 and 95.1. Okay, so Weekend at Bernie's was a crazy movie. The movie is about 2 guys who find an error at their job and report it to their boss, Bernie. Bernie thanks them and invites them to his beach house where he intends to kill them. But he's killed by an assassin first. When the guys get there, they feel like they must pretend Bernie is alive, and it just gets crazier from there. They carry a lifeless body around for the whole movie, pretending he's alive. I will admit I was not a fan of the movie Weekend at Bernie's, mostly because it seems silly and unbelievable to me. Unfortunately, a couple of guys in Carlow, Ireland decided to give it a try in real life. The Independent reported that 2 men carried a dead body into the post office in order to pick up a deceased man's pension check. They felt like they needed to bring the man's body because he was well known by the post office. The people saw it happen, did not find it silly or funny, they were horrified. A local woman's daughter saw it happen and said she was leaving my house at the time and said the man looked unwell as his feet were dragging on the ground. She said there was also a line at the post office that the men waited in because they could only allow 3 people in at the time. Most people that saw the event thought that he needed medical attention, so it did not take long for the authorities to get involved. The 2 men did not end up getting any money, and they are now being investigated. The authorities said a post-mortem will be conducted by the post office of the state pathologist, and the results which will determine the course of the investigation. I do not know if the guys tried this or had even seen Weekend at Bernie's, but they found out it isn't just like the movies. Wow, where does one even begin to start with this? That is fucked up on a whole new level I can't even begin to describe to you. I'd like to know, how long was this guy dead? How was he dressed? Did he have sunglasses on? I would presume so. Like, I picture sunglasses and a silly hat. I mean, obviously, indignity to a dead body in any form is kind of horrifying, but just the fact that somebody actually thought, you know what, this might work. And honestly, it almost might have been easier if, I guess no, I was about to say, if they knew the guy well enough, maybe they could have had the check be e-transferred if they knew this guy's banking info. But I guess if they're picking up the check, these guys weren't exactly clever. This was more like the Apple dumpling gang of stupid people. And if you can't tell, I watched Peacemaker and pulled that reference out of my butt. But yeah, like, that is just all sorts of fucked up to drag around a dead body. But the fact that his feet were dragging behind, I picture these 2 guys doing like a fireman's carry or like holding him up like a drunk at college, and his feet are just dragging behind him. And they're like, oh yeah, this is our friend. I don't know, we'll call him Bob. And Bob needs his check, but Bob can't talk right now. So, again, so many questions. And I'll be very interested to see what the results of this investigation are when or if they ever become public. I mean, obviously, I am horrified for this man's family. But there's a certain degree of humor in this that's kind of hard to avoid. And again, I'd like to know why people don't just have electronic banking set up for certain things, but I can understand there's a chance for fraud, and some people are just set in their ways. Like, if my grandparents were still alive today, I don't know how they would have dealt with direct deposit and e-transfer and this, that, and the other thing. My mom bought a computer before she passed away and didn't know how to use the fucking thing. And she gave it to me, then I think I sold it to... I think I either sold it to my friend Darla or I sold it to Roebuck. I don't remember, one or the other. So it's been a really long time. But yeah, I mean, old people and technology don't mix. Old people and being dead don't mix here, and having their bodies being taken advantage of for the sake of a pensioner's check. So these guys probably went to jail for less than like $1,000, which is fucking stupid. So yeah, I'm glad these guys are in jail. Hopefully this person's family gets the justice that they so rightly deserve. And if you want to see this play out in real life, I suppose you could always go watch Weekend at Bernie's for yourself. So there you have it, such as it may be. All right, so moving on to my next story and final story this week. This is interesting. So this comes courtesy of Kotaku.com. Final Fantasy VII porn interrupts government meeting. The Italian Senate Zoom saw a very not safe for work hentai clip of Final Fantasy VII's Tifa Lockhart. Italian lawmakers who gathered yesterday, so this was last week, for a discussion of data transparency in political decision-making got more than they bargained for when someone started playing a CGI video of Final Fantasy VII's Tifa Lockhart having sex in the middle of the digital proceedings. The hentai went live just as the Zoom call was introducing Giorgio Parseeri, one of last year's Nobel Prize winners in physics. What ensued was the longest 30-second anyone present has ever experienced. The meeting, hosted by Five-Star Movement Senator Maria Laura Mantovani, appeared to be running smoothly for the first half hour, Italian wire services ANSA reported. But when it came to introduce Parisi, the call, which included both live and remote participants, was hijacked by someone sharing their screen while playing the unofficial Final Fantasy VII porn. While it has been edited out of the official VOD for the event, a clip of the harrowing Zoom fail remains and has been circulated online in the following thread, which is linked in the Kotaku article. At first, Manitowi keeps speaking, apparently unaware of what's going on. Then a man shouts something in Italian about a sex offender. Mantovani sighs loudly and works with her assistant, trying to kill the shared feed, which ends up taking forever. Somehow it takes even longer to kill the audio feed. Finally, Mantovani gets the Zoom call back on track, and Parisi begins giving his prepared remarks, like what's sure to be one of the weirdest moments in all of 2022 just didn't happen. In addition to that, Facebook, the FF7 porn was apparently broadcast via Senito TV, Italian's equivalent of C-SPAN. Some present reportedly blamed hackers for the sabotage, though it's unclear just yet what exactly transpired and who the perpetrators were. I skimmed the nearly 3-hour-long meeting, and there were a lot of people on the call sharing their screens from all over the place. Western civilization isn't doomed, it's already in ruins. When not even the country that founded the Roman Senate can keep out hentai, what hope do the rest of us have? I'm sorry, that's hysterical on one level. To have a government Zoom call porn bombed, and this happens way more often than you might think. I know in Canada we had an incident where a guy was doing a remote session of Parliament, and he walked by his camera naked several times, not thinking that other people could see him. And he kind of chalked it up as, oh, I went to the gym and I was sweaty and blah, blah, blah. And some of that can be explained by being absent-minded and just, old people. But also some of it can also be explained as some people are hackers, some people are stupid, and it's all for the lols. And evidently, one of the people spoke to, I want to say Polygon or somebody, over Twitter DMs, the guy who was the artist behind this, and he thought it was hysterical. And he doesn't know who's responsible for it. So the guy who's the artist who did this for this amateur CGI is certainly getting some notoriety. So he's going to get some bucks out of this, I'm sure. So yeah, that's messed up. That's hysterical. That's funny. Digital privacy is definitely a concern, especially when you're dealing with government stuff. If your ordinary run-of-the-mill hacker can pull this off, who knows what could be accomplished with something a little bit more coordinated. I mean, thankfully it wasn't something hate speechy, but something obviously meant to be funny and kind of fucked up. So that's what I got for the weird news this week. Don't have a whole hell of a lot to say, so we're going to close out the show in just a couple of moments here, but we got one more review from Alex before we close things out for the week. We will be back, guys, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Alex here with a quick review of a couple of the releases that I got, sort of a bit of a roundup here of Final Justice from our friends at MVD, as well as My Stepmother is an Alien from Arrow Video. My Stepmother is an Alien is something that I had seen maybe bits and pieces. It came back to me as I was watching it. As a kid, maybe reruns on YTV or other kids' channels, or was it maybe CBC, something, or maybe TVO would have aired it at some point, and it just had little flashes in my brain of it, because it's a movie you think I would have seen, but I had really almost no recollection of. And it is a movie starring Kim Basinger, Dan Aykroyd, and a pretty young, what's her name here? Oh, why am I drawing a blank? Allison Hannigan from Buffy and How I Met Your Mother, and the American Pie movies. Now, this is a brand new Blu-ray release, remastered in 2K, meaning slightly higher resolution, ever so slightly higher resolution than Blu-ray itself, from the original camera negative, which is always good. It has stereo audio, no crazy surround track for this, but it was never optically designed to have one, but it is a good stereo separation on track. A lot of older family movies from like the 80s and early 90s tend to have really poor stereo separation, and it's basically almost like 2 mono tracks. But no, this is good stereo on here. There is subtitles, commentary by a film critic, which is actually interesting to listen to. A brand new interview with the director. There's an original trailer, a reversible sleeve, as a lot of Arrow videos tend to have. Original and newly commissioned artwork, which is always great too. Comes in a slip cover in a white Blu-ray box, and it's a pretty solid film. You remember all those books that came out in the late 80s, early 90s? My Stepmother's an Alien, My Teacher's an Alien. That is that sort of gimmick, only this is a little more heartwarming, less of a kid's thriller and more of a family drama. I don't want to spoil the plot, but it's well put together. It's of the time, if that makes any sense. And if you're a fan of any of the actors involved, or just the style, or you're a big movie collector of sci-fi, family sci-fi stuff, it's worth it. It's not an overly expensive release, and it is something you can watch a few times at least, and with friends, and that it's not something that you're going to get bored of too quickly. And the other release here is Final Justice from MVD. This is in a slipbox, a regular blue case, but a slipbox that makes it look like the original like VHS cover art, with like an adventure sticker on here, and stickers to make it like restricted, be kind, rewind, that sort of stuff. Similar to, not exactly the same as, but very similar to the releases from Mill Creek that have their VHS Rewind series. But this is from MVD, so you know it's going to be slightly higher quality with some more features, whereas that series from that other label, Mill Creek, tends to be nothing but a trailer, or maybe nothing at all except for the movie. MVD always tends to put as many features as they can into it. So there is a brand new high definition transfer, which looks pretty pristine considering this movie was from, it has to be, was it the 70s? No, 84. But it has a look of almost of a 70s movie. And it also has a new commentary by some film critics on here. There is a making of feature that was brand new with all new interviews with the writer and director. And then there's also a theatrical trailer, a collectible mini poster. The audio has been remastered. It is lossless 2.0 audio in PCM audio, meaning no compression whatsoever. Pure waveform, which is always nice to see. If you're doing a stereo track and you can get away with keeping the extra large space on the disc, I would say go for it. As far as the poster goes, it's a recreation of what would have been the original movie poster, which is pretty sweet. And the disc has custom artwork on it as well. It's interesting. It's from that era of like Walking Tall and other, not vigilante justice, but like the law being unbendable, taking it into his own hands. And it stars Joe Don Baker, and he goes as a no holds bars Texas sheriff who is trying to transport a mafia kingpin bad guy to get prosecuted, go to another area of America, and they're ambushed, and then killing spree happens, and then crazy man out for justice goes out to catch the mafia guy. It's your standard action plot, and I'm surprised I hadn't seen this movie before, but it's well put together. And if you're a fan of 80s 80s action thriller movies, this is one to watch for sure. This is one to get together with some friends, have a few beers and some barbecue, and just go out and go, yeah, you just cheer it on. It's worth getting for sure. I like it's interesting in that it doesn't have who you would have considered to be your classic action star. That being said, it works in the film itself. It just works for the atmosphere it's going for. So, it gets an approval for me for sure. And it is a region-free disc, so it's playable anywhere in the world, which is always, always welcome. So that's it for these two films. I would say both of them worth picking up for different reasons, but definitely worth adding to your library.
Did I ever tell you my dad's last words to me?
Careful, son. I don't think the safety's on.
Before that!
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. As we begin to close things out, it's kind of weird doing the show without Alex, but hopefully he will be back next week here on the show as, like I said, his apartment problems resolve and he is good to go. Actually, his birthday is It's next week, but it's after the show records. So if you want to send Alex your well wishes, Alex at ThisWeekInGeek.net or at DeathPhaseTwig on Twitter, or just at ThisWeekInGeek. I'm sure he would appreciate a little bit of a moral support boost, but also just happy birthday in general. I think he's turning 35. I want to say 35 or 36. 35, I'm pretty sure. Maybe 34. Yeah, he's younger than I am. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of what else to tell you guys. So yeah, like I was mentioning, Stargate SG-1 Twig is going to be changing a little bit kind of going forward, so we may take a week or two off while we rejiggle things, but I'm pretty confident things are going to be okay. Like I said, we're just kind of dealing with some changes behind the scenes. Nothing too drastic to kind of worry about, but we did want to be forthcoming with you people. But of course, we want to present to you the best and coolest story we possibly can, and I'm sure we will be able to do that. Speaking of role-playing games, I just got a couple new books from Modiphius. I should be looking at the new Star Trek Adventures books for the Game Masters Guide and the Player's Guide. I got the new Dune book. I also have from Free League Publishing, I did get the One Ring RPG, which is the Lord of the Rings RPG. I'm going to take a look at that sometime soon, probably very soon. In addition to that, I guess to catch you guys up, I'm also doing a new college course right now, so I am taking poetry right now. Ooh, I know, weird. But that's actually been a lot of fun. So I should be, you might see me up really late on Twitter, just kind of randomly doing stuff and exploring that new artistic side of me that has always existed. So I'll be doing that as well. Also, I'm playing a lot of Halo Infinite. I've actually already completed the battle pass for that. So if you want to get together, send me an email, Mike@ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm not good enough for ranked play, but I love playing Team Slayer, Big Team Battle, Fiesta is always a fun time, and I would love to do that. I actually hung out with Justin from Terrible Warriors and Alex about a week ago. We played Deep Rock Galactive. That was a lot of fun, so hopefully we'll be doing more of that at some point. Maybe I'll get around to playing some more stuff on my PlayStation now that I got things installed there, and I've been able to take some stuff off my hard drive because I finished Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that. Maybe I'll go back to the game at some point with all my stuff unlocked. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else to tell you guys is coming up this week. We're going to be recording more Future Imperfects and Loose Cannons coming up real soon. I finally finished Lower Decks of Star Trek, so I can talk about that. I know Star Trek Picard's been dated for March, so we'll be talking about that. I haven't seen any Star Trek Discovery. Honestly, Season 3 of Discovery left me with a lot of I don't give a shit. So I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens with that. I don't know, though. We'll have to wait and see what... And there's my alarm. So it is time to go. So until next time, folks, I've been Mike the Birdman, infinitely annoyed at his Google Home. We'll catch you guys next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Be excellent to each other, folks. We'll talk to you later.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.